Assalamu alaikum. Good evening.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله.
How are you, Ahmed?
الحمد لله. How are you too?
Alhamdulillah, I'm good. Thank you. We only have Ahmed. Concerning those who don't attend, so they will lose the mark of attendance. Okay. I think we have this week, or you have this week, and the semester will be finished on 22 January, right?
Yes.
Okay, so it is in the next week.
Yes.
Okay, so concerning our course, this will be the last lecture, because in this lecture we will finish all the required things for our course. Okay, so this is the last lecture concerning our subject.
Okay.
Okay, inshallah. So Ahmed, did you remember what we had the last thing? We were talking about a type of an essay. Do you remember where we stopped? We had a descriptive essay, argumentative or persuasive, and I think we dealt with expository essay, right? You have the file, right?
Yes. 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 Yes.
Okay, so let me share the screen. Yes. Can you see my screen, Ahmed?
Yes. It's clear.
Okay, that's great. So we have, or we had in, I think, 2 weeks ago, we've started with types of sentences. We talked about descriptive essay, which is to describe a person or a place or a thing, or maybe your favorite food or favorite place, favorite person, anything you can describe. You can describe how, for example, it looks, how it feels, how it tastes, how it makes you feel, okay, or how it sounds, for example. So this is a descriptive essay. Oh, we talked about also the argumentative or analytical, or we can call it persuasive essay, which is its function is to persuade or convince a reader of something or of your point of view as a writer. Okay, so it is an attempt in order to persuade the reader of your point of view as a writer. And last one we had it, which is expository essay. It is just to explain something or expose something to the reader by giving, for example, some information, some direction, some instruction, okay, and to acquaint the reader with knowledge. Okay, it is just to expose something, and we have it like we have a cause and effect essay. It's one type of expository essay. We have, for example, we might have a cause and effect essay, which is we can talk about causes and effects of war in Syria. So we can talk about both of them, which is cause and effect, and also we can have only one of them. We can talk about as an essay, which is causes of war. Okay, so here we will focus on causes only, and at the same point we can have an essay which is, for example, effects of war in Syria. So this will be focused on the what happens after, for example, a specific event or circumstance. Okay, so this will discuss the effects, the results, the impact. Okay. Today we will have two types. The first one, which is evaluative or compare and contrast, and the last one, which is narrative essay. As you know, we have so many types of essay, but those are the most common ones. All right, so let's start today with the evaluative or compare and contrast. Can you read, Ahmed, please?
Yes, just give me a second.
Okay, yes.
I read from example.
Ahmed, you can read from the beginning. Evaluative, compare, and contrast.
Okay, evaluated, compare and contrast. Example, a compare contract essay may discuss the likeness and difference between two places like New York City and Istanbul. The similarities and difference between two religions like Islam and Christian.
Similarities and differences.
What?
Similarities and differences.
Differences. Okay. Two people like my brother and myself. The compare contract essay discuss the similars and difference.
Contrast. This is contrast.
Contrast. Sorry. Contrast essay discuss the similarities and difference between two things: people, concepts, place, etc. The essay could be an unbased discussion or an attempt to convince the reader of the benefits of the one thing, person, or concept. It could also be written simply to entertain the reader or to arrive at an insight into human nature. The essay could discuss both similar and difference, or it could just focus on one or the other.
Okay, thank you, Ahmed. So evaluative essay, or we can call it compare and contrast. When we say compare and contrast essay, it will talk about or focus on the similarities and differences. So when I say compare essay, it is to deal with similarities, only similarities. Okay. When we say contrast essay, it means that it will deal with the differences. Okay, only with the differences without any similarities. Okay, so it is like the cause and effect. So we can combine, compare and contrast in only one essay. We can, for example, discuss the similarities and differences in only one essay, and we might focus only on one of them. Okay, we can have, for example, compare and contrast essay, which is to talk about similarities and differences, and we might have only compare essay or contrast essay, which is to talk about similarities or differences. So maybe I will ask you to, for example, compare between two places, compare, for example, between two universities, between two, for example, cities or something, or to compare between two people. Okay, when I say compare between, for example, this thing and other thing, here I mean that I want you to talk about only the similarities. When I say, for example, contrast, for example, the living in the city and living in the countryside, it means that I need you to talk about only the differences. Okay, this is very important difference between compare and contrast. You need to focus on the difference between compare and contrast. When I say compare, it means similarities. When I say contrast, it means differences. Okay, so
Okay.
the essay could be an unbiased discussion. When I say unbiased, it means that it is fair. It is fair discussion. Okay, because for example, you are just giving information, or for example, similarities or differences. Sorry, you will, for example, give the similarities or differences without any, for example, influence by any point of view, by for example, any other people's opinions. Okay, this is mean unbiased, which is fair or just discussion, which is not based on other opinions or other people's opinions. Okay, so it is, as we said, could be an unbiased discussion or an attempt to convince the reader of the benefits of one thing, okay, person or concept. It could also be written simply to entertain the reader. You can only talk about similarities or differences between two places or two things, between the living, for example, in the city and living in the countryside, just in order to give information, to convince the reader, or to entertain the reader, okay, or to arrive at an insight into human nature. يعني it is based on the purpose of the writer, what he wants, for example, to talk about, or to its responsibility of what to deliver, for example, the message. It is just to give information, it is just to persuade the reader of something, it is just to, for example, entertain the reader. So it depends. The essay could discuss both similarities and differences. So in this case, it will be called compare and contrast essay. Okay, maybe when you want to talk about, for example, similarities and differences, or you want to write compare and contrast, so you will have the first thing, which is introduction, and you will have maybe two body paragraphs, which is the first for compare, the first for similarities, and the second one for differences. Okay, and at last you will have the conclusion. Okay, or it could just focus on one or the other. Maybe you will just talk about compare contrast, which is similarities, or you will talk about contrast essay, which is the differences. So it is very important to know the difference between comparison essay and contrast essay. Sometimes we say compare essay or comparison essay. So comparison usually discusses the similarities between two things, two people, two places, for example, while contrast essay discusses the differences. We have here example, which is, for example, write an essay comparing the education system in Syria and Egypt. Ahmed, when I say or ask you this question, here I mean to talk about the similarities or differences or both. What do you think?
Excuse me, can you repeat? I don't understand you very.
Okay, in this question, this is an example, question example, okay? When I ask you to write an essay comparing the education system in Syria and Egypt, do I mean here to talk about the similarities, differences, or both?
Both of them.
Why is that, Ahmed?
Because it's comparing.
Okay, so did we say that comparing
Similar. Sorry. Similar.
similarities? Okay.
Similarity.
So please don't be confused between similarities and differences. When we want to talk about both of them, similarities and differences, so I will ask you to compare and contrast. Okay, when I say just comparing, it means just to talk about similarities. Okay. For example, both are cheap, both are education in Syria and education systems in Syria and Egypt, for example, both of them are cheap or expensive or good or bad. Okay, so here I will just focus on the similarities between the education system in Syria and Egypt, because I mentioned comparing. Okay, so the thesis statement can represent these subjects and indicate whether will be compared, contrasted, or both. So as we talked before, the thesis statement is the most important sentence in your essay. So you will mention in your thesis statement, for example, you will say, in this essay, I will compare the education system in Syria and Egypt. So you will indicate which one you will be which one it will be compared, for example, or contrasted. When I say compared, it means that here we will mention only the similarities, not the differences. When we say contrasted, so I will contrast the education system in Syria and Egypt. It means that I will talk about the differences between the systems in Syria and Egypt, or maybe both, as we mentioned. Okay, here you will see that some connectors or linking words that show the comparison similarities. You can use those words or phrases in your compare essay or comparison essay. And here we have some words or phrases. It can be helpful to you in order to use, for example, in contrast essay. Okay, because those words show the similarities or phrases, and those words or phrases could show the differences between two things or two places or something. Okay, we have let's have some example of these words and how we can use them in a sentence. For example, we can, for example, have this word as an example. The word similarly, for example, we can say
both the education in Syria and Egypt is free.
both. Yes, both. It is a word or connector. We can use it as to say that we have similarities between two things. Okay. Yes, we can use the word both. Similarly, we have this word. Can you use it in a sentence, Ahmed, for example, to show the how we can use it in comparison essay?
The education between Syria and Egypt is similar.
No, Ahmed, you can say, for example, the education system in Syria is cheap or is free, you can use a semicolon, okay, which is الفاصل المنقوطة, semicolon. Similarly, after similarly you will have comma, okay, which is الفاصلة. Similarly, the education system in Egypt is not expensive. Okay, so this is an example. I will repeat it. The education system in Syria is free. Similarly, the education system in Egypt is not expensive. Okay, so
Okay.
it means in Arabic, how we can translate it.
التعليم
No, it's
التعليم في
similarly.
سوريا.
Similarly, just I'm talking about similarly. بشكل مماثل أو بشكل مشابه. Okay.
Okay.
So make sure that you when use one of these words phrases, you will have in two parts of the sentence the things that you are comparing with. You will talk about only these similarities. Okay, let's have another example of this word, like this word, for example, correspondingly. How can we use it in a sentence? Yes, anyone?
Education, free education in Syria correspondingly same as education in Egypt.
Sorry, can you say that again?
Education in Syria correspondingly same as education in Egypt.
Correspondingly, you can use it in order to show the similarity. Okay, in the, for example, you can use it in the second section of the sentence. You can say, for example, education system in Syria is not expensive. Correspondingly, okay, education system in Egypt is free. It means in Arabic بالتالي وفي المقابل بصورة مشابهة. Okay, just to show that we have, for example, education system in Egypt, which is similar to the education system in Syria. Is it clear?
Okay. Yes, it's clear.
Okay, let's have some examples of these words. Those words, we can use them in comparison, contrast essay, which is to show the differences in or between two things or two people. Okay, for example, we have the word however, which is the same meaning as but. We can say, for example, I prefer watching historical movies. However, for example, my husband prefer watching, for example, horror movies. Okay, it is the same meaning as but. We have this word, which is meanwhile. Meanwhile, we can use it when we want to contrast two things, especially if they are completely different. Okay, we can say, for example, can you give me an example, Ahmed, or we have Amina, I think.
I was work on my car in workshop. Meanwhile, my friend was cleaning his car in other side of the. No, sorry.
Okay, Ahmed, you are completely right. But meanwhile, it has two meanings. The first one, which you mentioned right now, which is في هذه الأثناء or في غضون ذلك.
Yeah.
Okay, which is the same meaning as while. Okay, meanwhile, it can have a meaning which is while something else is happening. But we have another meaning which is so similar to the word but or however, it can be used when you contrast two things.
I buy a new car. Meanwhile, that's almost the same as my old car.
Sorry, can you say that again?
I bought a new car. Meanwhile, المميزات كانت
Advantages?
advantages of the same from my old car.
I didn't understand the meaning of the sentence. I buy a new car, yes.
Meanwhile, what? Sorry, cancel it.
You can say, for example, meanwhile, as I told you, it has two meanings, which is the same meaning as while, with, for example, while something else is happening. And in this case, I'm not talking about this meaning. I'm talking about another meaning, which is you use meanwhile in order to contrast two things to show the differences between two things. Okay, you can say, for example, the salaries of male employees are, for example, higher. You can say, meanwhile, the salaries of women are lower than that. Okay, it means here you have two opposite things. You want to contrast them. Okay, I will repeat the example. The salaries of male employees are higher. You can put here full stop or semicolon. Meanwhile, after meanwhile, you need to use comma. Meanwhile, the salaries of female or women, for example, are lower. Okay, so you have here two opposite ideas. Is it clear?
Yes, it's clear.
Okay, great. We have this word, which is conversely. Can you use it in a sentence?
What they mean?
Conversely, يعني all of them have a similar meaning. Okay, which means conversely, for example, you can say على النقيض من ذلك عكسا لذلك. Okay, it is similar to however, to meanwhile, to but, to unlike. Okay, all of these words have a similar meaning because all of them have the same function, which is to show the differences.
Can we say the teacher salaries from local council conversely council a difference considerably between a teacher who work in ORG organization?
Okay, you can say the teacher's salary are low, for example. Okay, full stop. Conversely, comma, okay, salaries of, for example, teachers in private institutions, okay,
Okay.
yes, are, for example, are higher. Is it
تمام.
clear?
Yes, it's clear.
Yes, I will say it again. For example, you can say teachers' salary in public school, for example, are low, full stop. Conversely, comma, salaries of institutions teachers or private institutions teachers are higher. You can say another example. For example, people, for example, in the Arab world, prefer eating meat and chicken, semicolon or comma, or sorry, semicolon or point, which is full stop. Conversely, comma, you need to use after those words, comma, okay, any one of them. Conversely, for example, people in European countries don't prefer eating meat and chicken, okay, which is على العكس من ذلك, على نقيض ذلك. So you see here that when I use one of these words, I'm focusing on the opposite idea. Before using this word in the first part of the sentence and in the second part of the sentence, we are showing the differences, while in this section, we are showing the similarities. Is it clear?
Yes, it's clear.
Okay, great. Do you have any questions concerning the evaluative, compare, and contrast?
No, it's clear right now. It's clear.
Okay, so you need to focus on the difference when I say compare essay or contrast essay, or compare or comparison, the same meaning. Comparison essay usually discusses the similarities, while contrast essay usually discusses the differences. Maybe I will have an essay which is to focus on only the compare or comparison, the similarities. Maybe I will have another essay which is contrast essay in order to discuss or focus on their differences. Maybe I will ask you compare the life in the city and life in the countryside. Here I need you to talk about the similarities in the city and in the countryside. Maybe the similarities between those two places. One of these similarities is, for example, what is the similarities on your point of view? What is the similarities between living in the city and living in countryside? Maybe it is for example,
life in countryside is very cheap for cheap.
Okay. And in the city, what do you think?
It's higher than the countryside.
Yes, thank you, Ahmed. So this is, you are talking about the similarities or differences?
Differences.
So this is not comparison, right? This is contrast, because you are contrast the the life in the city. You are talking about the differences or the difference characteristics of the living in countryside and in the city. When you say, for example, living in the city is more expensive than living in the countryside, so here you are talking about differences, okay? So maybe in the same essay, you will talk about similarities and differences. I think in this topic, which is living in the countryside and cities, I think there are very little similarities, you know, very few similarities, while we have more differences than the similarities. So you can talk about differences between you will have so many differences while talking about living in the city and in the countryside. Okay, do you have any question?
No, thank you.
Okay, welcome to the lecture after the cut off. Yes, I will share the screen again. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. So before the connection cut, we're talking about the third or maybe fourth type of an essay, which is compare and contrast essay. Before moving to the narrative type of essay, you need to practice those words. You need to know how to use them in a sentence. Okay, you need to write many examples in order to try yourself to use them in a sentence. Okay, concerning the narrative essay, which is the last type, we will have it today. And as I told you, this is our last lecture. So we will finish our course with this type. And after having this type, we will have like an example, an essay example of one of these types, which we had it. So narrative essay, when we say narrative, it means that to narrate something. When you narrate something, which is the verb of this word, narrate, N-A-R-R-A-T-E, when you narrate something, it means that you tell something. When you narrate something, you tell something. Okay, so narrative, which means in Arabic سردية or قصصية or something, could tell of my brothers. Those are examples. My brothers, for example, and my fishing trips, a boring trip to the grocery store, my near-death experience at the beach. Those examples are just to narrate a story or tell a story. Okay, it might be, for example, a funny story or scaring story. Okay, it just the function is to tell a story. Okay, so the narrative essay tells a story. It could be also called a short story. Generally, the narrative essay is conversational in style and tell of a personal experience. When I want to share with you my experience or my personal experience, my trip to a place, for example, or my experience on driving, how learning how to drive a car, all of these are experience or personal experiences. All of these are short stories or just a story that I want to share with you as readers. So this is called narrative essay. It is most commonly, sorry, written in the first person, uses I. Okay, because I'm telling you about my personal experience, so I need to use I. For example, I can say when I first went on my car, when I first, for example, when I want to share with you like my personal experience, I need to use the pronoun I because I'm talking about my personal story, right? So this essay could tell of a single life-shaping event or simply a mundane and daily experience. Okay, mundane, it means like something which is similar to routine. Narrative essay tells a story. In fact, narrative is another word of for story. Okay, so narrative, it means story, and to narrate, it means like to tell. Do you have any question concerning narrative? I think this is
No,
simple,
it's
right?
clear, simple. Yes.
Yes. Um, before having any example, you need to focus on these types of essay because when you identify the type of an essay, when I ask you to write any essay, so it could be easier for you to identify, is it descriptive, is it persuasive, is it expository, for example, is it cause and effect, is it compare and contrast, or is it just a narrative or short story. So when you identify or set the kind of the essay or the type of the essay, it will be easier for you in order to know how you want to, for example, to organize your ideas in order to convince or to entertain or only to inform your readers of something. We have this example, which is learning to swim. Okay, in this essay, I'm talking about my experience, my own experience of how I learned to swim. Okay, so before reading this essay, what do you think? Is it what is the type of this essay? Is it narrative? Is it expository? What do you think?
A narrative essay, because
Why?
you are talking about a story that happened to you. You are like reading something happened to you,
Yes,
like
very
a short story.
yes, very good. So this is a narrative essay. Okay. Before going into the details of this essay, I want to draw your attention to the importance of the form of the essay, which is the shape or form. Okay, because I noticed that a lot of you in the test didn't consider the importance of the form of an essay. Okay, some of you didn't use, for example, indentation. You know, indentation, which is the space in the beginning of each paragraph. Okay, and many of you made this mistake. Um, some of you didn't, for example, skip a line. Some of you didn't consider the importance of, for example, putting the title in the middle of the page. Okay, so I need to get your attention to these points. You need to have at the end of you writing this form. Okay, because when we're talking about essay, the form and content both are important, not only the content. So the form is important as well. Okay, so you need to have like this form of an essay. So you see here that in the beginning of each paragraph, which is we have here introduction, right? We have here the first body paragraph. We have here the second body paragraph. You see? So in the beginning of each paragraph, you need to have indentation, which is a 5-letter space. So you need to indent, like to leave a space in the beginning of each paragraph, and make sure that in the in the exam, you need to skip a line, not to write in every single line. Okay, you need to have your writing clear, simple, and clean as well. Don't, for example, cross out the words or make a lot of mistakes in order to cross out some words. So you need to have your writing neat and clean and clear as well. Okay, is it clear?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. So who want to read this example, this essay?
Yes, there are no one.
Yes, I think
I
we have
will read.
only and you have you and Amina. Yes, go ahead, Ahmed.
Learning to swim. Learning to swim is swimming. Learning swimming new can be a scary experience. One of the hardest things I have ever had to do was learning how to swim. I was always afraid of the water, but I decided swimming was important skills that I should learn. I also thought it would be a good experience and help me to become a physical stronger. What I didn't realize was that learning to swim would also make me a more confident person. New situation always make me
Okay, thank you, Ahmed. Before going to the body, this is like introduction to this title or to this essay. Sorry, so don't forget to add title. Okay, when we have verb, noun, adjective, adverb, so we need to capitalize the letter. Okay, we have here, for example, preposition, so we don't need to capitalize the first letter of it. So concerning the introduction, as you see here before L, learning, we have indentation, and we begin with um, general information or general, for example, detail about before going to the specific details. So here we are talking in general, which is learning something new can be a scary experience. Before going to the point, before going to the topic, my topic, which is how, for example, I learned to swim. So here I'm talking about learning something in general. Okay. So as you notice here, we are using I uh, many times because I'm talking about my own personal experience. So, as I told you, this is a narrative essay which is meant to tell or narrate a story. Okay, yes, body paragraph number 1. Yes, go ahead, please.
A new situation always make me a bit nervous, and my first swimming lesson was no expression. After
Exception,
I changed
exception,
what
exception.
exception, sorry. After I changed into my bathing suit in the locked room, I stood timidly by the side of the
Ahmed,
pool with
it is bathing, bathing. Okay, it's the bathing or
the
bathing. You can say bathing. Okay, it's
okay.
not the, it's the. It's bathing, bathing suit, which is swimming suit.
Yes.
The same meaning as swimming suit. So bathing suit.
I stood timidly by the side of the pool waiting for the teacher and other students to show up. After a couple of minutes, the teacher came over. She smiled and introduced herself, and two more students joined us. Although they were both older than me, they didn't seem to be impressed about not knowing how to swim. I began to feel more at ease.
Okay, thank you. So in the first body paragraph, I began telling the story from the beginning. Okay, what happened in the first of this situation, for example. So new situation always make me a bit means like a little nervous, and my first swimming lesson was no exception. Exception means what does it mean, exception? Exception means
Feeling?
no, exception, when you have exception of something, so it is not included, and it is not included, or it doesn't follow a rule or pattern. So it is استثناء.
What?
استثناء.
Yes.
It doesn't follow any rule. So after I changed into my bathing suit in the locked room, I stood timidly. What does it mean, timidly? When we say timid, for example, when I say he is a timid child, it means that he is a shy child. Okay, so he doesn't have the courage or confidence. So I stood timidly. So I stood in a position that lack confidence or courage. So I was shy by the side of pool, waiting for the teacher and other students to show up. After a couple of minutes, the teacher came over. She smiled, and introduced herself, and two more students joined us. Although they were both older than me, they didn't seem to be embarrassed about not knowing how to swim. I began to feel more at ease. What the meaning of at ease? When I say I feel at ease, it means that I feel relaxed. Okay, I feel relaxed. So you can memorize this idiom. When you feel at ease, it means that you feel relaxed. Okay. We have here. I have here a note for you. We have the word or the phrase with ease and at ease. What's the difference between with ease and at ease? Do you know?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Okay. What is the difference between with ease and at ease? Okay, so I will give you two examples or two sentences in order to consider the differences between them. When I say, for example, I won, you know won, which is the past of the verb win. You know won? I won. W-O-N.
Yes.
Yes, I won with ease. I won the prize, for example. I won the prize with ease. Okay. The next sentence, for example, I felt completely at ease. So what is the difference between with ease and at ease?
بسهولة
Which one
الأولى أو
is
بارتياح.
which one is بسهولة? With or at?
one with.
When I say I won the prize with ease, it means easily. So with ease, it means easily.
بسهولة تماما.
Yes. So with ease, it means easily. While the word, the phrase at ease, it means, for example, when I at ease, it means
I feel بالارتياح بالريلاكس.
Very good. Yes, exactly. Okay, so don't be confused between with ease and at ease. Okay, we got into the pool and the teacher had us put on brightly colored water wings to help us stay afloat. You know what the meaning of the word afloat? Afloat, it means that when you are floating on water, when you are afloat, when you are floating on water. It means in Arabic like عائم or طائف على الماء. Okay. One of the other students, May, had already taken the beginning class once before, so she took a kickboard and went splashing off by herself. Kickboard and splashing off a kickboard, it is like one step of learning how to swim. And when I say splash, it means that when you hit, you know, when you hit the water, so it makes a noise. Okay, splash, when you hit the water, and it makes a noise. The other student, Jim, and I were told to hold on. Hold on, it means to wait, okay? Hold on, wait, to the side of the pool and shown how to kick for the breaststroke. Breaststroke is another, I can say, technique of swimming. One by one, the teacher had us to hold on to a kickboard while she pulled it through the water and we kicked. Pretty soon, Jim was off doing this by himself, traveling at a fast clip across the short end of the pool. Okay. Yes, we have another paragraph. Yes. Can you read, Amina? The last body paragraph?
Yes, miss. Things were not quite that easy for me, but the teacher was very patient. After a few more weeks, when I seemed to have caught on with my legs, she taught me the arm strokes. No, I had to think it to contract, concentrate on my arm and my leg. I felt hopelessly and coordinate
Hopelessly,
sooner than I
uncoordinated.
hopelessly and coordinated sooner than I imagined. However, things began to feel right, and I was able to swim. It was a wonderful feeling, like flying my B2B able to shoot across the water. Across the water.
Yes, thank you. Yes, we have in the previous paragraph, we have this phrase, which is an idiom. Can you know what the meaning of at a fast clip? This is an idiom. You know what does it mean? When I say, for example, I went at a fast clip to the work, for example, it means that I went quickly. Okay, so at a fast clip, it means quickly. So this is an idiom. It is
Yes,
so important to learn idioms and expressions and try to use them while you are speaking or while you are writing. Okay. Yes. So as you see here, we have 3 body paragraphs. In each one of them, I'm talking about my experience of how, for example, I learned to swim, uh, what the techniques or steps were, while I was learning to swim. Okay, and concerning the last one, which is the conclusion. Yes, we have Ihab. How are you, Ihab? Ihab, how are you? Can you hear us? Okay, Ihab is not here. Yes, Ahmed, can you read, please?
Okay. Learning to swim was not easy for me, but in the end, my persistence paid off.
Ahmed, my persistence.
What do you mean in Arabic?
What does it mean, persistence?
شعور
No, it means determination. What does it mean, determination?
دافعية.
No. When you say determination, it means like الإصرار أو الإرادة أو الاستمرارية.
Okay. Not only did I learn how to swim and conquer my fear of water, but I also learned something about learning. Now, when I am faced with a new situation, I'm not so nervous. I may feel uncomfortable to being wet, but I know that as I practices being in that situation and as my skills get better, I will feel more and more comfortable. It is a wonderful, free feeling when you achieve a goal you have set for yourself.
Okay, thank you. So learning to swim was not easy for me, but in the end, my persistence means my determination, إصراري or إرادتي, paid off. What the meaning of paid off?
What? Paid off?
Paid off. What the meaning of paid off?
يدفعني أو يعزز دافع.
No, when I say my persistence paid off, it means that I was successful because I have, or for example, a good result. Okay, so my persistent, for example, if you have something that you do, so it pays off, it is successful or has a good result. Okay, in Arabic we say تؤتي ثمارها. You see, so my persistence paid off. It means that my persistence has a good result, so I was successful. Okay, not only did I learn how to swim and conquer. What the meaning of conquer? Conquer my fear.
ممثل, good evening, how are you all?
Good evening, hi, Ihab, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Sorry about my
Okay,
questions.
so what the meaning of conquer my fear? It means that to fight my fear or control my fear. Conquer, to control.
خوفي.
Yeah, yes, conquer my fear. It means that to control my fear or to fight my fear. But I also learned something. Sorry?
أتحكم بخوفي.
Yes, very good. But I also learned something about learning. Now, when I am faced with a new situation, I'm not so nervous. I may feel uncomfortable. So this is pronounced uncomfortable, not uncomfortable. No? Okay. So it's not uncomfortable, it's uncomfortable.
Yes, غير
Uncomfortable. So please pay attention to the pronunciation of this word. So we say comfortable and uncomfortable to begin with, but I know that as I practice being in that situation and as my skills get better, I will feel more and more comfortable. It is a wonderful free feeling when you achieve a goal you have set for yourself. What the meaning of set? When you say, for example, I set my goals, it means that حددت أهدافي or وضعت أهدافي. So a goal you have set, هدف أنت وضعته. Okay, so we don't say a goal you put. It's better to say a goal you set. يعني وضعت الهدف. Okay, any questions? Do you have any questions?
No question. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you all of you. As you see here that this is a narrative essay because it talks about a personal experience of a person that he learned how to swim. Okay, so he went from the beginning, so he went step by step in order to talking about what happened during this experience and how he reached to the final stage of this experience, okay, until he reached the conclusion. Okay, thank you all of you. That was very wonderful semester with you because this is our last lecture. I hope I will see you inshallah next semester. Please study well because the exam sample or questions will be similar to the exam or the test questions. Okay, they will be similar to each other. And don't forget about the notes that I gave you during the semester, and don't forget about focusing on the form and the content, الشكل والمحتوى, because the form is also important, the form of the essay. Here in this file you will see a lot of examples. Okay, you can read them and imitate them. You know, imitate, like to write a similar one. So you need to read those essay. After reading them, after read each one of them, you need to write a similar one in order to practice more and to improve your writing skill. Okay, so those are for you in order to read, and after reading them you need to write a similar one. Okay, thank you all of you. I hope you've got the benefit from writing or composition skills. Do you have any questions or anything you want to share?
No, miss, thanks a lot.
Okay, thank you all of you. Be careful and see you inshallah. See you soon inshallah. Goodbye.
Goodbye, bye bye. جزاكم الله كل خير.